4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to council meeting on Eclipse Day. It was really nice to get a short nap in the middle of the afternoon today, and then it got bright again. Councillor Peters, you're online today too. Excellent. We have Councillor Peters, Councillor Woodkey, and Councillor Herbert all online today. And we have regrets from Councillor McCauley. She was trying to make it here, but could not. So we're going to wish her well and move on without her. So this is the 16th meeting of the 144th Council of the Corporation of the City of St. Thomas. And recognizing tonight we have this meeting, a small closed session and a public meeting. So we'll see what order we end up getting those in. Any disclosures of interest from any of the members? I see a no from Councillor Woodkey, no from Councillor Peters. Councillor Herbert, you're going to have to tell me no because I can't see you.
No.
Okay, great. And we're okay in the rest of the room. Let's move on to minutes.
I have a motion that the minutes of the meeting held on April 2nd, 2024 be confirmed.
Peters.
I'll move them,
Moved by
Herbert.
Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Great.
Perfect.
Further discussion or comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Council will now resolve itself into committee of the whole to deal with following business. First committee is strategic direction and development. First item relates to a community improvement program residential grant. I have a motion that report PD 1124 relating to a community improvement program residential grant for 151 Wellington Street be received for information. And further, the council direct that a bylaw be prepared to enter into a community improvement program grant acknowledgement agreement with 133-59069 Canada Inc.
He's got his hand up by the screen. I see nobody else. Can you hear me, Steve? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Perfect. I can't hear anybody else. I can't even hear you. I see you moving though. Did we lose our Wi-Fi?
I don't know. We hear you
Oh.
and we're in the middle of our council meeting.
Yep, my screen just went blank. Now you're back. So thank you.
You're back? Okay, good.
Are we good, Your Worship?
Yes, next item.
We'll move to community engagement and services. First item relates to parks maintenance management plan and turf policy update. I have a motion that report PRF 1124 relating to the parks maintenance management plan and turf policy update be received for information. Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Kohler.
Questions and comments on the turf policy update? Councillor Kohler.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm just wondering if Adrian can explain the process on the naturalization. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that that's what we're doing and they're not going to be complaining about us not cutting our own grass.
Welcome. It's been a while since we've had you at the podium. This is great.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Councillor Kohler. The naturalization process is something that we're working on in areas of parkland that is not deemed to be used for active play. So we also focus along the recreational trails where we mow a 1 meter swath on either side of the trail, and then we naturalize outside of that to promote a place for native plants to grow. So we are working with a company that has a special seed mixture that comes in, and it does involve a process which doesn't look pretty to start, but we We get rid of the turf that's in place and then we have the seeds planted. We try to do it in the fall so that through the winter and into the next season, the seeds can start sprouting. But like I said, there is a process of a year or two before it really gets established and before you start to see the native plants come up. We do have to do a few mows here and there as well. Some of the areas that we're going to focus on this year include a section at Waterworks Park and Shaw Valley Park, and as well continued along the new recreational trails that we got.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Peters.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. Just sticking with naturalization, two things. One being, how do we deal with such things as noxious weeds? I think of that one weed, giant hogweed as an example, that should that get into a naturalized area, are we going to deal with noxious weeds? And how do we make sure that we are abiding by the Provincial Noxious Weed Act legislation? And secondly, as we proceed with these naturalized areas, is there a way for us to, as we work on trying to replant trees around the community, that we start to look at how we can plant trees and more trees in these naturalized areas so that somebody isn't going to look at it and see it as a field of goldenrod, but it's goldenrod now, but in 20 years' time, it could be a nice little bush lot.
Thank you, Councillor Peters. Actually, tomorrow we have a new staff member starting. She is going to be filling the role of invasive weed technician / weed, weed specialist for the city. And she will specialize in looking out for the weeds such as hogweed. We do have one area in the city that has been noted to have that plant that we've been monitoring for a number of years. And through a letter of opinion from the Ministry of Natural Resources, we do have permission to spray such things as Phragmites, hogweed, purple loosestrife. So we are keeping an eye out for those specifically. We do have extensive notes and maps of where they are located in the city. And so she will be monitoring that. So that's separate from our naturalization side. But certainly she will keep an eye on those areas. When it comes to planting trees in these areas, we certainly do that as well. Forestry staff work with KCCA and also on their own initiatives, plant seedlings every year in these areas. So while they are smaller trees to keep our budgets down, they are trees that we do get to plant in these areas that will do some succession planning for the naturalized spaces. And I should say, while I have the microphone, that goldenrod is actually one of the most important natural plants that we have in our environment because it's one of the last flowering native plants to bloom, which allows the bees to have food sources through the winter.
Okay, great. I see Councillor Wookie's hand and then Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. I was in touch with Adrienne this past week and I wanted to just mention things that I'd mentioned to her. And the biggest one is that we on City Council love graphs and charts with colors, and so does the public. And I was asking her if we could get like a summary chart or graph of like the A, B, C, D and how they'll be dealt with so that ourselves, so we know, and also that the public can know if they access the city website very quickly, what the level of care will be at their neighborhood park. So if Adrienne could if you could just comment upon that a little bit, I'd appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Wookie. Certainly we can make up a graph to put on the website, as well as hopefully advertise through social media. The goal here is to get everybody on our pages and so that they understand the level of maintenance that we are taking on.
Great. Councillor Clark.
Thank you. It's quite an impressive list when you look at the number of parks that we have in the city. And I was just wondering if we have any idea how we stack up against other cities our size, either through work that you've done or through a provincial group when you get together with your colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I guess to compare ourselves, we probably compare best to the city of Woodstock. And so I'm in contact with them quite regularly about their maintenance procedures, and we're actually planning a staff visit to go and see their facilities this year. And I also do sit on the OPA Board of Directors, so that puts us in contact with like managers of all different municipalities. And I think St. Thomas, not to toot our own horns, but we sit pretty high up on the list of communities that have valued parkland.
Great. Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
And just as a supplementary with the new subdivision areas that we're looking at in the north and the changes with the way developers handle parks, what kind of strategies will we use looking forward to make sure that we continue to add to this acreage?
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I think that speaks to the OP, the official plan, and the need for the 5% parkland in any new developments. And I know that myself and Jeff really push the fact that we can never get this land back. And so it's really important as the Parks Department to be able to get those spaces.
Councillor Herbert, did I see your hand?
You did, but Councillor Clark basically touched the area I wanted to touch about was future parks for St. Thomas.
Super.
As we grow, as our industrial or our areas grow, are we growing with parks too? So just to make sure that we're getting parks. That was my question. So.
Excellent. Another one I noticed today, again, that's 2 years in a row, we're a Tree City. And it's a good one to brag about.
That's right. We are thankful to get that recognition again. Staff have planted hundreds of trees this past year and will do so again this coming year. We work really well with environmental services and the Reed Road reconstruction projects. I want to say there was over 800 trees planted last year.
Wow.
And part of that is thanks to our private tree bylaw and the replanting that we require around the city when people remove trees. As well as working with other departments. And within our own department, our staff are really proud to be able to continue to do that.
And we have a special day coming up on April 24th.
Yeah, so that's our tree giveaway that will be happening at Pinafore Park at 9 a.m. Staff are working towards finalizing those details, but last year was a success and they were gone quickly. So on Arbor Day, we're supporting obviously trees in our community and we'll be giving away free trees to the residents that show up.
Excellent. Councillor Herbert, I see your hand again.
Yes, thank you. Adrian, through your worship to Adrian, do you work with Kettle Creek at all when you're planting trees, or are you independent, just do city trees?
Thank you, Councillor Herbert. We do work with KCCA on a number of their grant initiatives, specifically a TD grant that we get. I think they usually do that in the fall. We've been focusing those efforts around Lake Margaret in the last few years to replant some of the invasive plant material that has been removed, which was a separate project that KCCA headed up. They took out a lot of the honeysuckle, buckthorn, autumn olive around the lake and have replanted trees there. But yes, there's also been the effort to plant along the north shore of Lake Margaret to enhance the stabilization of the banks there. So we do work with them on a regular basis.
Thank you. Appreciate your answer. Thanks.
Great. Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you. Just briefly, I was hoping that Adrian could talk a little bit about the fourth bullet point, and that was about the native plantings to foster resilient habitats and pollinator pathways. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Sure. Thank you, Councillor Baldwin Sands. We have been working, like I had mentioned, along our recreational trail. Orchard Park Trail specifically has been noted as the pollinator trail. And that was partially in cooperation with Doug Terry Limited, who worked with us to plant the native plants along that trail. And then also around Lake Margaret, we do really want to make sure that we are encouraging the growth of different species such as milkweed, goldenrod, and then the black-eyed Susans, that sort of thing, to promote the health of the pollinators, including bats. I'm sure that you've seen we've put bat houses up around Lake Margaret and the butterfly area. We'll be putting more in the north end this year. They are an important pollinator in our ecosystem. So those are where we're really focusing our efforts on.
Great. Thank you. You didn't know you were going to get to be the guest speaker tonight when you came. Thank you very much. You bring us a lot of great information.
Thank you very much.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried.
Next item relates to pumper replacement. I have a motion that report FR 0424 relating to the award of RFP 2024-016 for a replacement pumper truck be received for information, and further the council award RFP 2024-016 to Darch Fire Incorporated in the amount of $1,207,050 excluding HST for the purchase of the pumper specified in the proposal submission. Moved by Counselor Gibson, seconded by Counselor Wookey.
Questions or comments on the pumper replacement? Seeing none. Oh, sorry, Counselor Herbert, you're okay with it?
I actually had a question. I was just putting my earphones back on. Through you to the fire chief. How long does it take for that fire truck to be delivered to us? Do they ship you to it? And I think you said it was from Florida. So how does that work? You have to drive down and pick it up and whatever.
So the chat,
I think you can get here a lot quicker if they turn on the lights and siren, but
through you, your worship, to Councilor
Chief.
Herbert. The truck is, because it's a stock truck, it is a brand new truck. It is a 2024. It is a stock truck. And because we went with a special option of a stainless steel body and compared to an aluminum body, which seems to be having problems in the industry. And we have five this brand of truck, and two of which are in their 20 years old, and we have zero rust or anything. So we've saved a lot of money in repairs body wise compared to other trucks that we have. This truck is built in Florida and assembled in Hamburg, New York, just outside of Buffalo. So it will be ready for delivery possibly June 1st to the city of St. Thomas.
great.
Okay.
Further questions on the fire truck RFP? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Your worship, unless the members have any further questions or items under community engagement, we'll now move into infrastructure and civic operations. The first item is Talbot Street Phase 3 reconstruction project update. We do have the manager of Capital Works here with us to provide a verbal update.
Great.
Hello. So through the mayor to council, I'd like to provide an update on the Talbot Streetscape project to address a couple of outstanding items that were raised by council last year. I'd like to thank Councillor Peters for ensuring these items didn't fall through the cracks. The first item was a request to upgrade the Talbot Street rail crossing with flashing rail crossing lights, which I'm happy to report was completed with the construction project in conjunction with the Port Stanley Terminal Rail, and the lights are now operational. So the other outstanding items raised by council last year was a concern about missing street signs along Talbot Street, specifically at White Street and John Street, and the directional sign at John Street for the Royal Canadian Legion Lord Elgin Branch 41. All the missing street signs are now reinstated. The Legion sign, however, was removed by others prior to construction. So we don't have that sign, but staff will be happy to work with the Legion to find an appropriate sign location if they would like to install a new sign here. So the Talbot Streetscape project has been a real success, finishing on time and under budget, revitalizing another stretch of the downtown and making it a great destination. We look forward to continuing this success in the next phase of the Talbot Streetscape project, from Ross Street to Queso Crossing, which is tentatively identified in the 10-year capital forecast for construction in 2029. Thank you.
Great, because they'll ask you for a bit of a break from the last bit. Right? Dan, thank you for that, and thank you for the follow-up. We're hearing nothing but great things about how the downtown looks now that we're into spring with sunshine and moving forward. Councillor Peters, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a comment. I want to thank Dan for following through on a number of items that I had raised. And I very much appreciate that. One thing I noted is that the construction company utilized the former Elgin Co-op property. I realize it's not city-owned, it's privately owned, but there's a huge pile of skids that are there. There's piles of gravel, piles of, looks like recycled asphalt. I don't know whether that was the landowner that added those things to the property or those are residuals from the contract. The only comment I would have, Dan, and I noted it leaving City Hall one evening, is that it just appears really dark out in front of City Hall. And is this something that we need to consider looking at some exterior lighting, focusing on the building, but leaving the front entrance of City Hall onto Talbot Street, it's dark.
Dan, on those two?
Yeah, so definitely, the street lighting on Talbot Street was, designed, by a consultant for, that project. And it does meet the RP8 values. I can't speak specifically to the lighting levels and right in front of City Hall, but definitely could be looked at further, to determine if additional lighting is needed on the building, or if changing lights, that do deteriorate over time, the lighting level decreases over time, could be looked at as well.
On the construction site, on the old co-op site?
Right, and just because I'm not familiar with the old co-op, I'm not, in terms of, I assume you're speaking.
Center and Princess.
Right,
Okay,
yeah. Sorry, some of us have been around too long and we know what it used to be, not what it is now.
right, so, at Center and Princess, we can look into, whether or not there's some construction materials left over. Presume that, the contractor is required to clean up everything that, that they leave, that they have from construction that's left over, whether that's, excess soil or, debris or, construction waste. So, we definitely can look into that a little further if that's something that the city is responsible for.
Super. Thank you for your follow-up and thank you for all the good news you shared tonight.
Next item, your worship, relates to request for 5-hour on-street parking in the Hinks Street area. I have a motion that report ES 1524 relating to the 5-hour on-street parking limit request and Hinks Street parking control request be received for information. Moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Wookie.
Okay, questions or comments on the parking report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried.
Next item relates to the major arterial roadway class EA environmental study report. I have motion that report ID 1524 relating to the major arterial roadway class environmental assessment environmental study report endorsement be received for information, and further the council endorse the findings and results of the environmental study report as linked in report ID 1524. Moved by Councillor Wookie, second by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Unless there are any further items from the members under this committee, we'll now move to corporate governance and administration. First item relates to the Community Recycling Center Public Liaison Committee. I have a motion that report ES 1724 relating to the Community Recycling Center Public Liaison Committee be received for information, and further that council directs staff to seek an amendment to the environmental compliance approval to remove the Public Liaison Committee condition. Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Wookie.
Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Unless there are any further items from the members, Council will now reconvene into regular session. I have a motion that the recommendations, directions, and actions of council and committee of the whole as recorded in the minutes of this date be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. Moved by Councillor Clark. Second by Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Questions or comments? Seeing none? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No reports of committees this evening. We'll now move into petitions and communications. The first item is a request for jumbo lighting for October the 17th. I have a motion that the jumbo monument be lit in purple and blue on October 17th, 2024 in recognition of Light It Up for National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Moved by Councillor Kohler, second by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item, a letter has been received from Vending Canada, Inc., requesting the placement of bulk toy vending machines at the Joe Thornton Community Center. Your worship, if the members wish, I have a motion that the letter be referred to the Parks, Recreation, and Facilities Department for a report.
Sounds right to me.
Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Peters.
Okay, questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item is a letter received from St. Anne's Community Festival, requesting that council declare the festival as municipally significant, that council has no objection to the proposed extended licensed area, and requesting use of the parking lot at the Joe Thornton Center. I have a motion that the St. Anne's Community Festival be declared a municipally significant event, and further that there is no objection to the proposed extended licensed area to be used during the St. Anne's Community Festival from June 5th to 8th, 2024, and further that the request for the use of the parking lot at the Joe Thornton Community Center for parking of recreational vehicles and travel trailers by workers be referred to the Parks, Recreation, and Facilities Department. Moved by Councillor Wookey, seconded by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item is a copy of a resolution addressed to the Premier and various provincial ministries, and that has been received from the municipality of Brighton regarding regulations for ride-sharing services. Next item is a copy of a resolution received from the City of Brantford regarding carbon pricing on home heating bills and energy-efficient home retrofit grants. Your worship, no further items on the agenda under petitions unless there are any items from the members.
Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you. At this morning's Health Recruitment Partnership Committee, we acknowledged the retirement of our health recruiter, Cheryl Fish, recognizing the last 11 years as the City of St. Thomas and the County of Elgin health recruiter. I read the letter of recognition from the mayor because you were on the bus that day. Some beautiful flowers from the committee and also a gift certificate so that Cheryl would be able to purchase from the St. Thomas Elgin Public Art Center choice of a print or a picture of her choice. If the city manager, if you have any further comments, or we were very sad to see Cheryl go, but we have a new health recruiter that has been partnering with Cheryl for the last few months.
City
Sandra?
Manager.
Thank you, Worship, and I want to acknowledge Councillor Baldwin Sands for her leadership in the committee and for the participation of other council members, including Councillor McCauley, Mayor Jones, councillor from the County of Elgin, and also Mayor Cook at the councillor from Elmer. Cheryl has been a tremendous advisor, support to physicians, nurse practitioners, family members, everyone across our community. And while she is stepping back through retirement, and we were very successful in recruiting Uzo Ajagwu, who is our newest recruiter in this community. Cheryl is not going very far. She will continue to be there to support the work of our community in attracting doctors to this community and across the county. And we're pleased to have her even in that background role. And so do want to acknowledge her as well.
Great. And thank you, Councillor Baldwin-Sands, for filling in. You're right. I'm going to share riding a bus to work this morning. We started the regional transit system with Middlesex Counties Connect and Voyago and the city of St. Thomas and London. And so we took the first bus out of St. Thomas. The warden of Middlesex County and a couple of other people, including myself, took the bus all the way to London and then over to Dorchester, turned around and came back, and was quite impressed that when we got to the White Oaks Mall transit station for the bus, 20 people were waiting to come to St. Thomas. We think on a first day, that's a pretty good amount. Now, a number of them were coming to get closer to the total eclipse. And they figured $5 was a great price to take the one-way trip. And I guess they'll go back on it later today. And then when they got here, they're at our transit center, and many of them said, I've never been here before. What do I do? We said, well, see the Talbot West bus right there? You get on it and head over to the elevated park, and it'll be a great place for you to watch the eclipse. And so that's where most of them were heading. I said, but before you do that, there's many of businesses in St. Thomas on our downtown. You might want to go get snacks and beverages in order to take out. So this is the first day of us really trying to educate that there is now a $5 bus. And yes, the mayor paid his $5 there and back each way, but it's a great, and in really talking to Voyago, they've done a number of these regional transits now with other communities. And Jason was sharing with me today that none of them have stayed the same within the first year of it starting. So we've laid out a route that we think really handles the economy, getting people to the industrial sites in London and even to our industrial site. But if you have comments about this, please share them right now with Voyago or on our own customer service. Let's do our best to fill this bus. It is a pilot project, and if we don't use it, we won't have it, but it's been a long time since we've connected with London and the rest of the world from St. Thomas. So it was a fun day today. Any other new business? Councillor Peters.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. I just, today was eclipse day. You just recognized it. You know, the last time we saw a total eclipse in this area was January 24th, 1925. And I spent the afternoon in Port Stanley, and I've never experienced anything like it. Just to see this darkness and to see the lake change the way that it did, it was really something. But I want to acknowledge Chief Gregory and other EMS personnel, because they did a wonderful job of working cooperatively intermunicipally to, you know, coordinate traffic routes in and out and around the county. And it was busy, extremely busy, but you know, I think it was all done with the thought in mind to ensure that public safety, should anything happen, public safety was there. So I just want to thank Chief Gregory and the others that were involved in this. It was short, but it was something I am never going to forget. So thanks, Chief.
And I think all of council echoes your words, Councillor Peters. Thank you. Any other new business? Okay, great.
Next order of business is bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws.
Peters.
Moved by Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Wookey.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
I have a motion that the bylaws be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
First bylaw, please.
First bylaw is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 8th day of April, 2024.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? First bylaw carries. Next item, please.
Second bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city and St. Thomas Flight Center Limited. This is for a lease for the former administration building.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That item carries. Third bylaw, please.
Third and final bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city and Michael Van Hout. This relates to a residential loan agreement under the Community Improvement Program for the property at 441 Talbot Street.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That item carries. I rise to report the successful passing of the three bylaws.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Wookie, that the report of council and committee of the whole on the three bylaws be received and adopted. The same be read a third time, engrossed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next order of business is public notice. One notice this evening. Notice is hereby provided that administration intends to introduce a report at the April 15th council meeting requesting approval of an unbudgeted capital expenditure relating to the replacement of transit vehicles. No notices of motion. At this time, your worship, there is a need to move into closed session. I have a motion that this meeting be closed to deal with a position plan procedure criteria or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality. Moved by Councillor Wookie, second by Councillor Gibson.
Before we vote, I'll remind the folks at home watching us tonight and on Rogers watching us tonight that we will be going now into closed session. The council will recover from closed session only to adjourn the meeting at the end. We have a public meeting at 6 o'clock, so we'll do our closed session business and then wait for 6 to do the public meeting.
A question, your worship?
Yes?
Do we just stay on when we're zooming or do we have to close out and go back in to get into closed session?
Apparently you have to go out and come back in.
Okay,
All right. Okay,
you.
so further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.